Dark 9 Radio presents The Last Countdown.
The computer screen glowed like a crystal ball, casting pale light across Nathan's face. 11 years old and already allergic to small talk, Nathan preferred the world brain, as H.G. Wells called it, the internet. News mostly. Not the kid stuff. He liked stories about political coups, missing submarines, satellites going dark. Grandma Carol used to stand behind him and say, "There's no truth in the news and no news in the truth." Then she'd walk away before he could ask what that meant. This summer, he was counting down to something else. His mom's launch into space, and his visit to Grandma's house in Ridgecrest, California. 1 hour, 14 minutes from Edwards Air Force Base. Not that anyone cared except him. "Nathan, you packed?" His mom called from downstairs. "Almost." He sat on his bed staring at his SpaceX poster, the Falcon 9 rocket glowing like a cigarette ember in the darkness. The Space Shuttle Challenger's explosion was just a YouTube click away, and he'd watched it enough to memorize the smoke twist. 7 dead. 1 was a schoolteacher. His mother, Lieutenant Colonel Ravina Swift, callsign Killswitch, was headed to the International Space Station in 3 days. "Knock, knock." "Come in." His mom pushed the door open. "T-minus 5 minutes, soldier." "I'm ready, Mom." "Underwear?" "Yes." "Teeth brushed?" "Are you gonna nag me in orbit too?" "Every chance I get. Now brush them and let's roll." They burned down Highway 14 in her 67 Mustang. She called it a farewell cruise. He called it reckless. "What's got you quiet, big guy?" she asked. "I want to go to a real school this year." "But Grandma's homeschooling you." "I could go to Ridgecrest Elementary. You did." She smiled, eyes on the road. "Yeah, and look how I turned out." They hit Garlock Road, a winding death trap of sun-bleached crosses and skid marks. "Slow down, Mom. You're going to get another ticket." "Who are you and what have you done with my son?" she said. "Killswitch?" "More like Leadfoot," said Nathan as he checked to make sure his seatbelt was fastened. She grinned. "Smartass." "Look," yelled Nathan. He pointed to an electric billboard. No ad, just a massive digital timer. Days, hours, minutes, seconds. "What is that?" she muttered. "No idea, but those billboards cost money. Who pays for a countdown with no message?" "Maybe it's an art thing. California's weird," she said. Nathan stared out the window, face pale. "Do you believe in God?" She didn't answer. She didn't even look at him. She just scrolled through stations pretending not to hear him. Until finally, she turned off the radio. "Why do you ask me that, Nathan?" "Well, Grandma says you don't believe." His mom sighed. "She raised me on rapture warnings. Stay rapture ready. That was the church motto. Every week it was Antichrist this and end times that. I spent half my childhood waiting for the sky to crack open. It really messed me up, Nathan." "But you let me go to church with Dad." "That was different. Your father wasn't doomsday-ish." Nathan didn't speak for a while, then softly, "The billboard feels like the kind of thing Grandma would say as a sign." "Then it's probably not, Nathan." Ridgecrest looked like a town waiting to disappear. Flat, sunburned, only 2 main roads and not a single building taller than a cactus. "There's another one," said Nathan. His mom raised an eyebrow. "There it is, the people's eyebrow. You're curious, Mom, admit it." "Yeah, it's weird, Nathan, but I'm sure it's nothing." Grandma Carol's house hadn't changed. Same not-so-manicured front yard. Same living room nobody lived in, except for Nathan. He was the golden boy. If he wanted to read on her plastic wrap couch, she'd bring cookies and whisper not to tell his mom. "Monkey Doodle," she called, arms wide open. He ran to her. She hugged him like she was trying to keep him from blowing away. His mom hung back, stiff. The hug she gave her mother was fast and silent. Nathan slipped inside, but he could still hear their voices on the porch, low and urgent. "Nathan, come here," called Grandma. He obeyed instantly. That was the rule. "We're gonna pray for your mama's safe journey." His mom frowned. "Let's do this inside, Mom." "Oh, Ravina, faith's not something to hide." "It's not faith, it's a fairy tale." "I gotta go, Mom." She handed Nathan his bag, kissed the top of his head. "Be good, okay?" He nodded, watching the Mustang kick up dust as it disappeared. Inside, Nathan poked at the rows of books lining Grandma's shelves. Cracked paperbacks with titles like The Omega Code and Left Behind. Some were decades old, their predictions long expired. Still, they radiated fear like old microwaves. "Y2K? 2012, he muttered. "World's still spinning, Grandma." "Not everything spins forever," said Grandma behind him. He jumped. She smiled and sat beside him. "Your mother doesn't want me filling your head with this stuff." "You're not, Grandma, I found it." "Well then, like a thief in the night. That's in the Bible, right, Grandma?" She nodded. "No one knows when the end comes. That's the point, Nathan." He leaned back, looking at the bookshelf. "Seems like these authors think they know." "Fear sells, honey. It always has." They sat in silence for a moment. Then she smiled. "You want cookies?" Ravina floored the gas pedal again. Her mom's gravel driveway was still in the rear view, but Ridgecrest clung to her like the desert dust. She kept one hand on the wheel, the other flipping through presets on the radio. Static, preachers, pop songs, more static. Then, another billboard, glowing orange numbers ticking down. She exhaled, then pressed harder on the gas. By the time she pulled into Ontario International Airport, she'd seen 5 of the billboards. At the terminal newsstand, a Time magazine caught her eye. On the cover, the billboard. The title said, Armageddon Countdown. She almost laughed. Almost. She flipped through the article, eyes scanning the words like a warning etched in stone. Sightings on every continent. Indestructible. Vandal-proof. Spray paint wouldn't stick no matter how many times someone tried. The colors peeled away like water on glass. Attempts to smash or tear them down failed too. Hammers shattered on impact, knives barely left a scratch. And every time crews came with cranes to remove them, the billboards stayed stubbornly rooted, as if anchored by some unforeseen force. Theories spread like wildfire. Some said it was a billionaire's twisted art project. Others whispered of a doomsday cult marking time until the end. But no one ever claimed ownership. No one ever stopped them. They simply appeared, blinking their cold, impossible countdowns, like something not of this world. She bought the magazine anyway, and regretted it before she even sat down. Back at Grandma's house, Nathan sat on the plastic couch with a laptop on his thighs and guilt in his stomach. He'd promised his mom he'd stay away from the conspiracy stuff, but the whole world was doing it now. So what was one more click? Grandma's internet worked surprisingly well. He skimmed message boards, watched shaky YouTube videos of people trying to tear the billboards down. Nothing worked. Paint slid off, bulldozers flipped. One guy claimed he prayed at the base of a sign and heard his entire name whispered in his ear. Nathan tried not to believe it. 3 days, 7 hours, 21 minutes. Thousands of digital billboards spanning the globe in perfect synchronization. He logged into Global Defense Council, Nuclear Edition, a war strategy game he had always wanted to play. Now seemed like the right time. He picked North Korea, because if you're going to simulate world destruction, why not go full villain? Missiles arced across the screen as Nathan thought of his mom, wishing they could be together during the final countdown. Ravina sat on the edge of her bunk in the crew quarters at Kennedy, elbows on her knees, hands laced tight. The room was quiet, sterile, lit with the kind of pale light that made everything feel temporary. She imagined Nathan back home in Ridgecrest, curled up on the couch, his face pale and locked on the television. Her mother would be beside him, fingers wrapped around his like a prayer in motion, lips moving in that old, worn whisper of faith Ravina had long stopped believing in. She swallowed hard, chest tight with a sudden swell of love so fierce it hurt. She needed to name the feeling, to tether it to something real. "What do astronauts call it?" she asked her AI assistant, voice low. "That thing they feel when they see Earth from above." The response came soft and certain. "The overview effect," it said. "A cognitive shift in awareness, a sense of unity, fragility, and a deep connection to the planet." She stared at the ceiling. "Great, now I'm gonna feel guilty for owning a muscle car." She still couldn't shake the feeling that the overview effect had already started, for everyone. Like the countdown wasn't just ticking towards something, it was changing people already. Stay rapture ready, her mother used to say. Jesus will come like a thief in the night. And what were the billboards but giant ticking reminders of that? Nathan stepped into Grandma's garage and froze. There it was, gleaming under the dusty overhead light like a treasure in a dragon's hoard. A brand new bike, matte black, thick tires, chrome handlebars that begged to be gripped. Not some plastic rattling Walmart knockoff. This was the real deal, solid, fast. Grandma stood behind him, arms crossed, a smirk tugging at the edge of her lips. Every boy needs wheels, she said. His first stop, the billboard on Ridgecrest Boulevard. It stood in a dirt lot behind a Dollar General, surrounded by caution tape and tire marks from failed teenage vandalism. He stared up at it. The timer blinked calmly. 3 days, 6 hours, 19 minutes. Nathan felt small, not just boy small, dust on the globe small. The sign didn't hum or glow or whisper, it just counted. Nice bike, punk. He turned. 3 older kids, greasy hair, desert tans. One cracked his knuckles. Trade ya, the tallest one said. No thanks. Nathan turned and pedaled hard. They took off after him. The wind screamed in his ears. Fear lit up his nerves like sparklers. His lungs burned. His legs screamed. He hit Grandma's driveway, dumping the bike, running for the door. Thanks for the bike, loser, one of them yelled, tossing their rusted junker aside. The screen door banged open. Grandma Carol stepped out with a rifle. BB gun, technically, but at 600 feet per second, it didn't matter. She fired. A hollow thump split the air. One of the boys howled, clutching his rear. They all scattered. Nathan blinked. Grandma? She blew on the barrel. Coyote deterrent. You shot him! You're damn right I did. They tried to steal your new bike. I regret nothing. They sat in the forbidden room watching NASA's live stream on her laptop. Nathan trembled. What if it's like Challenger? Grandma didn't answer. She just took his hand and squeezed. Launch day. T-minus 10 minutes. All systems green. T-minus 5. Guidance systems online. T-minus 1. Automatic sequence start. Ignition. Liftoff. The rocket sliced through the air, dragging a tail of fire. Nathan's eyes glued to the screen. He didn't blink. Neither did Grandma. Godspeed, Ravina, she whispered. 2 days had slipped by. Ravina drifted through the ISS, her body lighter than air, her thoughts anything but. Below her, the earth spun in soft blues and quiet greens, a picture of calm, a lie. She didn't need to hear the news feeds to know what was building down there. The tension wasn't just global, it was personal. A rising pressure, silent and invisible, wrapping around every human heart like a closing fist. The other astronauts were tracking the countdown. One posted a selfie with Earth behind him and the words T-minus 1 day, buckle up. Ravina wanted to slap him. Her spacewalk was scheduled for the same hour the countdown would hit 0. Perfect, she thought. Nathan pictured her out there, his mom a speck of a human drifting through the darkness, tethered to a chunk of metal orbiting Earth like a prayer on a string. The timer back home was down to minutes, and all he could do was imagine her voice in his head, cool and sharp like always. Kill switch, you ready? Mission Control would ask. And she'd answer, probably with that half smirk she wore when things got serious. Yeah, she'd say. Nothing like floating around a glorified tin can at 17,500 miles per hour while the world ends. Nathan swallowed hard. He wanted to believe she was fine, that she wasn't scared. He couldn't sleep, neither could Grandma. The news networks all ran the same thing, live feeds of countdown billboards across the globe. People held signs, they cried, prayed, sang, and danced. It felt like New Year's Eve, if New Year's Eve came with the risk of global annihilation. Here we go, Grandma. 1 minute. She squeezed his hand. No words, just her breath and shaking. T-minus 10 seconds. The world held its breath. 9, 8, 7. On the couch beside him, Grandma also held her breath like it was the last dollar in her wallet. Her hands were cold and dry. The screen showed Times Square, thousands packed shoulder to shoulder, staring up like they were waiting for God or death, maybe both. In space, Ravina floated like a soap bubble, tethered to the ISS by a ribbon of science and faith. Earth curved below her in silent majesty. The sun sliced across the Pacific like a golden knife. Her gloved hand reached toward the blue sphere. She didn't know why. Instinct maybe, or guilt. The countdown continued. 6, 5. She thought of Nathan asleep, hopefully, but probably not, and her mother pacing the house like an old cat circling a thunderstorm. She thought of the countdown, of how it made her feel 6 years old again, waiting for Jesus to bust through the clouds with a sword in one hand and a heavenly megaphone in the other. She let her mind drift darker, imagining the impossible. What if the timer wasn't just a cruel joke? What if it marked the moment the world she knew would burn? She pictured the first distant flash. Mushroom clouds rising like hellish flowers, bloomed from fire and death. The sky tearing open in blinding light, swallowing cities whole, turning everyone she loved to ash and vapor. Orbiting a planet on fire, she'd be powerless to stop it, powerless to save even herself, a witness to the end, staring down a blue marble dissolving into ruin, with no home to come back to. 4, she didn't blink. 3, she braced. 2, she prayed, not knowing to who. 1, and then nothing. Ravina held her breath for 60 seconds before finally whispering, "Kill switch to ISS. Am I still alive?" No answer. Her mic crackled. Then, "ISS to kill switch. We read you." Comms dropped for a bit. "We think it was a solar flare. Are you good?" "Yeah," she said. "I'm fine." She looked down. The planet looked the same. Too much the same. 1 week had passed. The world didn't end. Nathan sat cross-legged on his grandma's living room floor, TV flickering in the dark, his phone buzzing with headlines, hot takes, and hashtags. Biggest letdown of the century, they called it. A cosmic prank. A dud. But Nathan knew better. He'd seen the billboards, stood beneath them. He'd felt their hum in the ground. And nobody could explain their existence. Not governments, not scientists, not even his mom could explain where they came from. And then the timer hit 0, and nothing happened. Or maybe everything happened. People said God doesn't show himself, that he's silent, absent, a myth. But when Nathan looked at the signs, he could feel it in his core. He was here. Maybe not with thunder or flame, but with a whisper strong enough to stop the world. And somehow, no one noticed the miracle.